Welcome back to SK Hobbies, AZ and I am Stitch. And as you can see in front of me here, we're going to build an RC boat. You're not going to want to miss this, so stay tuned. All right, well, welcome back. So yes, if everybody caught my 3D print stream, we printed 3 RC boat hulls, and I'll show you a little bit of video of that being printed. Now this process took about 4 days to do, and you can see I've got it sped up really quick so you guys can see this process, but it took 4 days to do. We streamed it live on my channel in several different videos, so you guys can have those links if you guys want to see the process behind it. But I thought this was kind of cool for you guys to show and see this time lapse. As you can see in front of me, I got all of the 3D printed stuff. Now, this boat is by MJet Development. This is the MJet Sprint file. You can get it from CG Trader, which I'll put a link down in the description. And I'm going to put a picture right over here of what this boat's going to look like. At least that's the picture on CG Trader. And you can see my colors are a little bit different. We've got a blue hull. The bottom plate that's going to go like right here is going to be red. We're doing a red, white, and blue theme. This is the impeller right here. That's all going to be black, and that actually goes off the back of the boat right here. And we've got the figurines. We've got the crossbars that are going to go across the top. That's going to be white. And then we have the motor. Now the motor, we're going to actually paint it. We're going to give it kind of a chrome look. So we'll show you some video of that being painted before we get to that part to install. This series is going to in 3 parts. So we're going to do the first part, and that's going to be assembling the hull on getting this cleaned up, glued together. And then we're going to start prepping the inside, getting that ready so we can actually make sure that we've got a good seal on it and we're not going to leak. So we'll get that done in the first video. We are also going to assemble the jet or the impeller that's out the back. We're going to get that assembled and attached up. We're also going to attach these guys to the top of the boat here. We're also going to do some painting on the figurines, getting those painted up prior to getting mounted here. And then we're going to paint this motor. We'll get this motor installed on the back. This is the fake motor. Getting all of the stuff put together without the electronics. So we'll get as much as we can put together without the electronics, and then that'll be the end of the first video. Now, for everything else that you're going to need, and I'm going to put a list up right over here of what we need. Besides everything you get in the files, which you can get from CG Trader, it's about $27 plus tax to buy all the files, and you can print this out yourself on your own 3D printer, or if you have a friend that can print it, they can do that too. But there's some things else that you need. You're going to need some hardware. You're going to need about 15 M3 by 6 millimeter screws. You're going to need 4 M3 by 10 millimeter screws. You're going to need 8 M3 by 20 millimeter screws. So you're getting a little bit longer. And then you're going to need 4 of the M3 by 35 millimeter screws. And from there, you're also going to need 2 M3 nuts that will be able to screw onto that. You're going to need some O-rings. You're going to need some 2 millimeter diameter kind of screws for mounting the servo up here. You're going to need some O-rings. And I've kind of already got my kit put together. We've got all the different size screws, and I'll put a link down in the description of what you need and some links to where I got them on Amazon. We've got the little O-rings that we need. You're going to need some bearings, so we'll put those up. These bearings are 4 by 10 by 4, so I'll put a link in the description. And then you're going to need a coupler like this for the shaft, and what this does is that you're going to have to buy some rod stock, and you're going to need to couple the shaft here to your motor, and that's going to happen inside where the shaft's going to go in. You're going to couple it to your motor inside. So you're going to need these. We're going to give these bad boys a shot. And like I said, you're going to need some shafting that we've got, some rod, 4mm diameter stainless steel rod. So you're going to need to pick some of those up. That link will be in the description. And then you're going to need a motor, which we've picked up the Rocket RC brushless motor. This is a 2150 kV motor. Now these motors are different than what you would use because this is in a boat. Let's pull this out of the box real quick. So it is a brushless motor here, but it's got this sleeve over the top of it, and you've got some ports you can connect up to water cool it. Now the ESC, we're still waiting. It should be here in a couple of days. It's the same thing. And I'm going to put a picture up here of what that ESC looks like. And everybody's been buying that 70 amp ESC. It was quicker for us to get the 90 amp. So let's go big or go home. So we got the 90 amp ESC coming that we're going to tuck up in here. And we'll show that to you guys when we get to the second video where we're going to install all the electronics in this. Now, also in that file, you're going to get, there's a whole bunch of other things you can print, like you can print a little boat stand. And if we kind of do this, now this isn't glued together, but we'll see if it sits on there. But you got a cool little stand that your boat sits on. So that takes a couple of your M3 screws. So you're going to need an additional 6 of these M3 screws. And the ones that I used on this are the M3x10s to put this little stand together. And there's a bunch of other things that you can get. There's a plate that goes underneath for the motor jacket that goes on this guy that's going to kind of install out, that kind of helps water flow. So we got all of that. I kind of got them attached here so you guys can kind of see the 3D printed parts. These are right off of the printer. I removed all of the base and everything that was attached to it. We don't need it. Got them all cleaned up, ready to start putting this bad boy together. So we're going to get everything put together except for this guy at first, because I've got to get this guy painted, get him all decked out, and then we'll get him installed onto this cover. Now, you're also going to need some 1/8 inch tubing. Now this is just air tubing. And what you're going to need this for is, if we remove this off of here, it's going to kind of go into this groove right here. So if you guys see, you're going to put it into that groove going all the way around, and that's going to help with the seal of this piece setting in here. And actually it's going to go like this. So when you push down, and you get a little twist nut that's going to lock that into place, and that's going to seal up your electronics from the top. And then you have that seal that kind of goes around it to help protect it. Try to make it as watertight as possible. You're also going to need like a little baggie or a balloon to kind of put your ESC in. We are going to be running one of our new FlySky controllers in this first boat. We're also got an Emax servo. This is the Emax, the ES8 MA2. So this is the second generation of the Emax servo that we're going to put in it. Now we did pick up some conformal coating. We're going to conformal coat over the top of that entire ESC to kind of waterproof it more and seal it up. So we will show you guys that in the video also. We're going to be using our ABS glue that I made in one of my live streams to glue these two together and get a nice good seal on that. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to build some boats. Let's build some boats. All right, so you got to make sure you cut these things off of the back here, these little tabs. And they're little tabs like this. You got to cut those off. Those are on your supports. It kind of supports this lip that's right here. So you can get some side cutters to just cut those bad boys off like that. And then if you've got one of these little deburring tools, you can kind of use that to And you're going to want to kind of clean up around the edges. Make sure you guys got it. That end is done. So before you glue this, you need to install these screws right here. So what these screws are for is for your battery strap. And just reel that way in. All right, so we're going to use our APS glue that we created. And if you guys want to see this, go back to my live about working on the RC boats, and I go through the whole process of making this ABS glue. We are going to use a popsicle stick, and if you just take your side cutters, cut off of a little bit of an end, and what I like to do is kind of shape it, kind of cut the ends off like that to make it so we can actually get in there and apply it all the way around. So what this glue is going to do for us is kind of help us bond with the two pieces of plastic. One side has a lip, the other side doesn't. So you know which side you're going to need to apply the glue on is the side with the lip. Now, because the way this works is having acetone mixed with the ABS filament, it's basically going to break down the ABS or soften up the ABS that we used for printing. And it's going to bond with the other piece once it's completely dry. Now you do have a little bit of working time with this. Not a lot, but you do have a little bit, and it does kind of make a mess sometimes. Make sure you have kind of a rag on standby to clean up anything you need cleaned up. And then you're going to take both of these halves and you're going to push it together. Make sure you got a good fit. And then you're going to take your rag, clean up any excess you might have. So now that you have that, You're going to need to give it about a good 24 hours to dry. And then after we dry, we're going to come back in and right down in here, we're going to put some epoxy down in there just to kind of seal up that inside. So we'll see you guys in 24 hours after we give this a chance to cure. All right, so we've got our part 1 done of this video, and that was the assemble of all the 3D printed parts. We got that. We did put a little bit of the electronics in, and that was just because the instructions kind of called us to do that. So we got the motor mounted in here, and we also had to mount right there the servo, which we did get that conformal coating on it. Now these screws, putting those in, kind of a pain in the butt, as you saw in the video. I think what I would do is use the motor to get it mounted in, because you kind of need that in to figure out your shaft and all of that for mounting it up, and then unscrew it, pull this motor out and set that aside, and then you can get in there better for those screws. So we got that. We did a little bit of testing of the servo using some of my SCX24 electronics, connected it up to a FlySky controller just to make sure that it moves. It's moving pretty good. Pretty simple. The instructions. Now, the instructions that you get with this 3D printing kind of leaves out a couple of steps. But if you go to MJEP Development's website, which I'll put a link in the description, as you go through that, he's got tons of videos on how to assemble different parts, how to put it in, how to assemble the back of the motor, installing your servo, gluing it together. Now, probably going to have to coat this all in epoxy, just because of the 3D print jobs. It seems a little weak here in the nose, so I'm thinking this is probably going to be porous and water is going to get into it. So we're probably going to coat all of this in epoxy for the whole, just to make it completely watertight. Now we did add that glue in, you saw in the video back here, to seal up the seam here, but we're just going to protect the hole, and we're going to cover this all in epoxy here, coming up onto the sides of where it would get wet, and then we're going to come right across the top up here with epoxy. Not going to epoxy this, but we're going to do that. I think it's turning out awesome. Goes together pretty good. Definitely a cool design on what he designed on building this thing. Kind of snaps right in there. Got the little lock that locks everything in. And I think the guys turned out awesome. All right, well, that's part 1 of this video. We're going to move on to electronics in the second video. We're going to do some water testing and finish up with actually our first run in the swimming pool in the backyard. And then video 3, we're going to take this out to a lake and let her rip. I hope you guys enjoyed this build. I know it's a long video. It's an amazing design. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bash that bell. I'm Stitch, SK Hobbies AZ, and I'm out.